In Vietnam, the job that was probably the most important was I was in the CAP program, which is a Marine squad that is assigned to a Vietnamese village, and our job was to protect that village, to try and keep the VC out, and to keep the villagers from being kidnapped and assassinated, and you know, keep it safe. A little nervous. You didn't know what to expect, and the Air Force brought us in, and I know they screwed with us a little bit because they knew we were all recruits, and they were they were telling us when they land the plane for us to get out of the plane as fast as we can because the base was being shelled, which was you know a lie. I was the NCOIC of the CAP school, and I was what I was doing was preparing Marines to go out in the field and get them used to working with the Vietnamese. CAP is
Yeah.
Combined Action Platoon. A combined unit of Vietnamese and of Marines. There's 14 or 15 Marines, and then there's about 30 Vietnamese, and we form a, a fighting unit, and that was what we did to protect the village. The village had 10,000 people in it, so there was a lot of people there. Just spring into action. You don't really, I never was scared in combat. You're making decisions. You're really busy because there's no plan in combat because it's kind of man against man, and you can't predict what they're going to do, but you have to be able to react and counter it, or you anticipate what they're going to do, and you try to do it before they have a chance to. Uh, but I would feel fear after it was all over. Sometimes after everything had quieted down and you had time to think about it, sometimes you'd get scared of all the things that happened had just taken place, and no, you didn't get killed, or we survived it. Okay, I had a gunshot wound. We were in a big firefight uh, with a large number of NVA, and they wanted a prisoner, and so uh, I had told Division Intelligence that if I could, I would get them a prisoner because we're getting contact all the time. We were running into VC more than anybody else, so they knew that they knew something was up, but they wanted a prisoner. So there was a bunch of bodies out in front of us. They were down, and the fight was still kind of going on. But I went out there to see if I could find one that I could drag back and that we could take back as a prisoner. Well, he had a bunch of buddies over there, so everybody started shooting at me, and I got hit 4 or 5 times, but only one penetrated my body, and it spun me around and knocked me down. And the guys thought I was dead. They thought I was dead because they saw so many. The NVA have green tracers, and they just saw green tracers and bullets and everything flying at me. They assumed I was killed. And then they continued fighting, and then eventually I was able to work my way back, crawling in the brushes, and I made my way back to where we were. And then we set up in a defensive position, and basically we continued to fight. And then they sent a reaction force out us because we had 4 wounded already. There was 4 people, me and 3 other guys were wounded, and we couldn't leave. We had to stay there, and so they sent a reaction force to come out and try and rescue us, and that's what happened. They reached us, and as soon as they reached us, and the NVA noticed that our firepower became greater, they withdrew, and so we were able to get out of there. But good chance that we all would have been killed. The second time I was wounded, we were being attacked. Our compound was being attacked, and it ended up that we were being attacked by 200 NVA soldiers. Anyway. Our compound was split in 2 parts. We had the PFs, which were the Vietnamese soldiers, had the south end, and the American Marines had the north end. So I had my Corporal Fox, I said, "You take care of this north end here. I'm going to go to the south end and make sure that the Vietnamese are ready for this, the PFs are ready for this fight." But I never made it back there. I ran into to the NVA, and because it was at nighttime and I couldn't tell. I thought they were PFs, but no, they were NVA, and they threw a explosive charge at me, and it hit me and it exploded, and knocked me for a loop, and that was the second time I was wounded. I was able to. I don't know if I blacked out or not, but when I came to and figured out what was going on, I was sitting on the ground and my rifle was going. I don't know if the NVA came and grabbed my rifle and they thought I was dead and took it. And then when I came to, I got up and ran back to our side of the compound. Okay, the most tragic was the death of uh, two guys. One I only got to know for about 5 minutes, and he was a replacement. He came in, and I spent some time with him, talking to him, trying to get to know him. But I immediately liked him, and then and he was killed that night, I mean he died a horrible death. That affected me too. He was burned alive. And then the next guy is Joe Cerrone. Joe Cerrone was instrumental in me leaving Vietnam. I was ready to go back out the field. I had already been in a lot of combat. I was pretty experienced, and I guess I still had the bug. I still wanted to be in combat. Well, Joe came in and he came in and talked to me, and pretty much he spent a lot of time with me and convinced me that I should leave Vietnam. That I had done everything I could, and he told me that if I stayed there, I was probably going to die there. So I agreed that I wouldn't extend, that I would leave. Well, 2 weeks later, Joe died. He got killed. I've always uh, felt remorse for, especially Joe, because Joe was a really good guy, and but I lost other friends too. But those two have remained with me. I think about them every once in a while. They were just, I don't know, just something about them that they've always stayed with me, and they'll stay with me till the day I die. Early on, maybe like for the first 10 years or so, I would have nightmares, or I don't know how long, but I used to have nightmares, and gradually those kind of went away. Nightmares, like it's something fearful, and you can't seem to do anything about it. There's nothing you can do. You feel like your hands are tied, and that's basically what it was. I'd be in situations where I had no control, and just those what the nightmares were. But I haven't had one in a long time. It was people, I mean, friends dying, uh, like Joe and this Carl Dories. Um, that I wish I could have done something different. I wish I could have been there to save them, uh, or if anything, because when you're a combat unit, your buddy he's your most important friend, and you'll do anything. You don't want to let him down. You're going to do everything in your power to not let that guy down. Because you got his back, and he's got your back. Well, sometimes people die, and you wish that you could have done something, and you think about it, and and you feel bad because here I'm still here, and those guys' life ended 45, 50 years ago. It's their life is over, and they never had a chance to. And some of those friends were very important to you. I mean, at some time they were there for you. When you know you needed them to have your back, and they were there. They didn't let you down. And then as time goes on, some of these guys, they die, they get killed, and you feel you let them down, and it's called survivor's guilt. And I struggled with that for years. Okay, I really wasn't aware of it. I didn't understand it. Um, I went to the VA because I had two Purple Hearts for being wounded twice, And the guy says, "Have you been to a PTSD thing?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, you've been wounded twice, and you got a lot of combat." He says, "You should go." So I did, and then when I started talking about it, I got real emotional because there was a lot of things still inside of me, and it's called survivor's guilt. It's you feel guilty that you were there when people died, and you didn't. Maybe you think you didn't do enough to prevent their being killed, and it didn't affect me until later in life. Once I retired and you don't have anything that's to occupy your mind, you have a lot of time to think about stuff, and then it started to affect me. It would bring on depression and stuff like that. It took me a while. I went through therapy and saw psychiatrists and stuff for me to come to make peace with it. And I'm pretty much at peace with it now. I couldn't talk about Vietnam. Now I'm okay with it. I can talk about it.